a news program from a Native perspective. Whether it's a flagpole raising or whether it's an elders conference, if it's important to the people and I make a story out of it, this is the most exciting, wonderful, fun time of my life. Hello and welcome to Heartbeat Alaska. I'm Jeannie Green.
There's a heartbeat, louder thunder, revolution is in the air. There's a heartbeat deep inside our mother. Are you too cool to care?
Hello and welcome to Heartbeat Alaska. I'm Jeannie Green. Thank you so very much for joining us. Today we travel to one of the most beautiful areas of the world, Southeast Alaska, an area of the world rich in history. We travel to the village of Klawock. And later on we travel to Craig, Alaska. It's a fabulous show. I'll be back right after this.
There's a heartbeat, louder thunder, revolution.
And I really enjoy the places that you go to and look at the people, the wonderful native people that is in Alaska. And I'm glad I'm a native, and you people should be glad and teach your kids the wonderful way of life.
Heartbeat Alaska is brought to you in part by Bristol Environmental and Engineering Services, serving Alaska since 1994, a subsidiary of Bristol Bay Native Corporation.
Hi, I'm Mark from Scan Home, and we are proud to sponsor Heartbeat Alaska.
Scan Home, serving all of Alaska's home and office furnishing needs. Thank you, Scan Home, for making Heartbeat Alaska possible.
Heartbeat Alaska is brought to you in part by Brown's Electric Lighting Gallery. Thank you, Brown's Electric, for your generous support of Heartbeat Alaska.
By the Nature Conservancy of Alaska, working with Alaska's rural communities to conserve and protect our natural heritage. Tradition has it that Interior at the Baskins used to travel to Southeast Alaska and vice versa. The Tlinkits and the Haidas and the Tsimshians would travel up the coast of Southeast Alaska into the interior. Goods and knowledge were shared back and forth, and that same tradition continues today. Interior natives through AmeriCorps and non-natives traveled recently to Southeast Alaska, this time to help in an incredible project. Sharing knowledge, not goods this time, sharing knowledge of their culture, specifically totem pole carving. The first thing you notice when you arrive in Klawock is the overwhelming scent of cedar. These young people are learning the art of carving totem poles. They're members of the Tribal Civilian Community Corps, which is a residential program created through a partnership between the Tanana Chiefs Conference Incorporated and AmeriCorps. The Tribal Civilian Community Corps, or TCCC, is a program that performs hands-on services by addressing unmet needs identified by villages in the interior and communities throughout Alaska. But don't be fooled. This is no vacation for these young adults. They are learning valuable skills that will help prepare them for the workforce and at the same time learning about the cultures they are submerged in. Their mission for Klawock is to help finish building this carving shed.
We've got a group from the interior here who are finishing out our pole shed, our carving shed for us, and we've got some short poles for them to work on, and that way they get a little carving experience down here while they're here.
Now we are using...
John Rowan is a master carver in Klawock who has been put in charge of a project that involves recarving 20 totem poles from the area.
Most of them are mortuary columns. They would contain ashes in a box of the dead. And this one's got a raven and a brown bear, and that's representing two families. And that's just the first start of 19 that we have to do to revamp our whole park. Well, my dad and his uncles used to carve. That was a way for them to make some money in the winter months, and I just got bitten by the bug back then. And I used to make my mom little cheapy plaques, you know, with a pocket knife, and I just built on that. And when I got to high school, Stan Marsden was a Simpson man that came over, and he started teaching in the Craig schools, and I spent all high school with him and learned a lot from him. And from there, I buddied up with Nathan Jackson and Israel Shotridge. Some of these guys can really carve, you know, and just being around guys like that, you pick up so much, and you just continue to build on it, you know. And I've been doing it for a lot of years. This is a total alien thing for them, you know. They didn't know anything about, you know. And so it's different. It's almost like starting right from ground zero. You know, we had them finish up the walls and put the doors on, and we got small poles out for them to get their teeth into, you know. It's like I said, it's kind of starting from ground zero, but they're catching on quick. There's a couple of them got good technique that, you know, they picked up, you know, they're quick learners. You can see the learning as they grasp it. It's almost in leaps and bounds, you know. And it's like, oh yeah, this guy's got it, you know. He's got a good touch, you know. We've had to bend out a couple of adze blades because a couple of them haven't got the technique, you know. And there's some of them just went right away at it and just really got some work done, you know. It's practice, you know. I got stuff that I gave my mom years ago that I kind of cringe when I look at it now, and I tell the kids it's just patience and practice, and you just keep getting better and you never stop learning. When you think you've outlearned everybody, you know, it's time to hang it up because you don't know enough.
I mean, we like carve spoons and all that, but nothing this big or this fun. A lot of work.
Yeah. It's a lot harder than it looks to carve a totem pole.
Because it got some big knots and small knots, and it just changes direction every time. So you just gotta really watch what you're doing. You can kind of see a body forming out of them, but I'd say, see how the radius on it? We had to chisel all that in. And
Oh, that underside?
yeah, it was all just half a log when we first started.
Well, after the first couple days or so, your hands starting to get tore up, and you'll get used to it after a while. I can feel my hands are getting a little stronger, and I'm able to take more of it.
Yeah, take a look at me here and tell me what happened.
Cut myself.
So, how many people have cut themselves so far?
A lot of people working with John around. This ain't nothing.
We knew it was dangerous to carve before we started, so I wasn't very surprised when I cut myself. But I didn't expect to end up with 3 stitches.
Sasha Housley is the team leader. She's taking a well-deserved break from the fast pace of college life. Besides learning the different skills she's picked up through the program, Sasha is also learning about the culture and history of the Tlingit people, as well as her own people, the Athabascans.
John and I were talking about how they used to trade beads, and like our tribe used to use, the Athabascans used to use dentalium shells as like money, and also decorate their clothes with them, like as a status of their wealth. And we got them from here. So that was kind of interesting. We were talking about that. And he was telling me about how much the Tlingits liked our beadwork. and they would get a hold of a lot of our beadwork and bring them home to their wives and kind of have their wives inspect our beadwork to, like, you know, try to teach themselves how or whatever.
It's a kind of a neat thing. We get to visit about, you know, our different cultures and what, you know, some of it's similar, you know, fish-wise, you know. We talk about different recipes. You know, we're making little trades now. I like their skin sewing, and so one of them moms making me a marten hat, and I'm trading a carving with him. And so the other one's gonna send me moose ribs, he says. So we're gonna make some barters here, which is an age-old practice between our people and them. You know, a lot of trading.
Right now we're actually learning more of the native culture here, the Tlingit culture in Klawock and the surrounding area here. That was our main thrust of our trip, is to expose our members from the interior to the culture of this area, and also give them a chance, you know, to share some of their culture with the local people here that they have had contact with since they've been here. We're on sacred ground. That area is not very far from one of the original Tlingit villages, and so that was one of the first things that we learned as a group. Then we learned about the totem poles, their importance, what we're doing there. And then the most unique thing is that this is one of the first totem poles that is going to be erected by local artists. And so we feel very privileged that TCC has a chance to share in this, well, really it's history in a sense. So we get to be part of that history-making event. I talked to the carver, John Rowan, this afternoon, and he said this is the first totem pole that has been erected here or been built locally since the 50s.
We'll be back with more of the AmeriCorps workers in Klawock, Alaska right after this.
There's a heartbeat louder than thunder. Revolution.
The gift of past experiences handed down. There are no greater lessons.
Heartbeat Alaska chooses the Longhouse Hotel, the official hotel of Heartbeat Alaska. And this is where we choose to house our guests that come from all over the world to spend time with us. And this is where we hope you will choose to spend your time when you come to Anchorage. Choose the Longhouse Hotel, the official hotel of Heartbeat Alaska.
For more than 50 years, Frontier Flying Service has been your connection to rural Alaska. Frontier Flying Service, a proud sponsor of Heartbeat Alaska.
Heartbeat Alaska is brought to you in part by TribalNews.com, the world's most complete source of Alaska Native American news on the internet.
For these kids, it's more than a job. It's a learning adventure, a journey that has not only taken them to several villages, but has also allowed them to experience different lifestyles. And in return for their hard work, these young people are also getting
close to $5,000 in school money, so just you get away from the people you know for a while, take a break, learn some job experience, meet new people around Alaska, and see what's out there.
I think the best part is the experience and just going out as a team to different communities and working together. But there's also the things like the college fund and getting your GED if you don't have it, and just all the trainings and stuff is really good. But it's mainly like the teamwork that I think I'm going to take away with me is just the experience of working on a team.
Self-respect and getting off on a good foot to the future.
The best thing about this program is making new friends, meeting other people, going to different communities, helping out.
And these kids aren't just learning different skills, they're also learning about the responsibilities that go with holding down a job.
We usually wake up around 5 and 4:30 for cooking, and we start work at 6 all the way to 10 for lunch, then back at lunch at 10:30, and we go to 2.
Hours are kind of awkward, 6 to 2. Usually wake up about 5:30 or 5, get something to eat and drink some coffee and start out. By the end of the day, we're going pretty good, but in the morning we're all kind of groggy.
Our program is based up on mostly teaching by example, mentoring. We don't have books on how to do this or how to do that, you know. And so that is probably one of the greatest assets we can have, is to have leaders that come in and show the kids the importance of Native leadership.
Work ethic is my big drive, you know. The boss says you're there at 6 o'clock, you better be there at 6 o'clock, you know. And if we're working it, you best be working it too, you know. And that's the only way to make it out anywhere, you know. Anybody that works for a living knows it. That's, you know, there's no other way. And I don't care what language you speak or what country you go to, a job's a job.
I've worked on just about everything. Masks, halibut hook, totem poles.
I have a boy and a girl that are my apprentices right now. And Harry, who's with me right now, he's his family line comes from the Yahit Ganachtedi people from Klawock. That's where his mother's from. His father's from here. They've lived here all their lives, and he's purely local. And he's been in my classes since probably junior high or elementary even.
The one we're going to carve next is a sockeye salmon pole, and that was used to mark where their own fishing spots are.
There's story poles, there's property poles, there's shame poles, you know. Well, the mortuary pole is going to have the ash receptacles adds out of there. Some of them are both. Some of them are story and, you know, legend and mortuary, depending on the status of the family. There's some that are the shame poles that will have, you know, could have a face of the person that owes a certain clan, you know, something, you know, some, maybe even their crest, you know, set a certain way, or there's property poles that we have one we're gonna do next, hopefully this week we'll get started on it, but it's a sockeye salmon pole out of Douville. It's just north of here. It's telling who owns that certain stream, you know, and the use of it there, you know.
I'm planning on carving one for a house, and I'm planning to put a raven whale dog salmon on it, because my mom's raven whale and my dad's raven dog salmon, so.
It's a program that is changing these kids, changing them for the better. Once their job is done here, it will be off to another community to help with yet another project. For these kids, what tasks lie ahead in the next few months are unknown. But one thing these kids do know is that they will be better prepared for whatever comes their way.
We're building leadership, and we feel like that's so important that kids know that they're the next generation. They're the ones that, when the elders die off, they're the ones going to take their place. You're a leader. You're going back to your village as a leader. Take what you have and take that role, and we're seeing that happen. We're honestly seeing that happen.
Thank you everyone in Klawock, Alaska for your help in that story. And thank you AmeriCorps for contributing to this story. We travel now to another village in southeast Alaska, a village called Craig, Alaska, where fun is sometimes tied directly to tradition.
I enjoy it. Craig's a little town, and since I've been here pretty much my whole life, you kind of get attached to some hobbies, and I learned this in school in the 5th grade, and I just don't want to give it up. It's a part of my tradition.
15-year-old Leanne Meyer is talking about weaving. She's been weaving for years and is devoted to the craft. She also has a great respect for the trees, which supply her with everything she needs for her very special hobby.
There's pretty much rules to it. You can't strip a tree that's too small. You don't want it to be just like that big because it won't heal right. And you can't go over an old tree. That's not right either. You just go for the medium ones and the ones that will be able to heal themselves after years. And it's just special. Being in the woods and gathering it is something else. Hard work. You need a hatchet, and you start at the bottom of the cedar tree, and you put a slit at the bottom, and you pull it up, and it'll eventually snap off. Depending on which way the grains are moving in the tree, sometimes you can mess up where you cut it and it won't be that long. It can be a couple feet, but sometimes it will go all the way to the top of the tree, and sometimes that's not good. It won't break off, and you have to climb it and break it off with a hatchet. I have to clean the outer bark off of it is what I have to do. It's a big job. And then after I'm done taking that outer layer off of it, it's still really thick. So I got to thin that down by the layers and then let it dry, and then I put it through what's called a jerry stripper. What it looks like when it comes out of the stripper. Started to weave on it down here. They have books, all sorts of things to show you how to make traditional things, like the mats they used and the berry buckets. They have traditional Haida style buckets that they used. But mostly nowadays people make their own design when they're weaving and make their own thing and sell it. So you can make hats, regalia out of it that we dance in. I haven't made one of those yet though. And I've also made ornaments, and you can make cedar roses and all sorts of stuff like that. Okay, this is my first basket. I did this in the 6th grade. It has a plated bottom here, different from the one I just showed you a few minutes ago and from my second one here.
What's the second one called?
A spiral bottom. It's just a smaller one.
Let me see the bottom. Hold them side by side there so you can see the difference of the bottoms. There we go. One's plated and one's spiral. Okay, and then hold them up or top, yeah, like that.
They're pretty much the same weave. This is called an open weave. It gives it a kind of a diamond shape here. And as you can see, this one's much better. I made sure that I did that one more diamond shape than this one. And I don't really see most kids around here that know how to weave. See older people that still do it and go out there and gather, but it kind of impresses a lot of people too, to know that some young people are actually into it still.
And speaking of being impressed, just the appearance of this jarred fish was enough to make anyone hungry.
We only get 1 month, which is July, to fish sockeye, which is really our native fish that we like to eat around here. And the rest of this fish that we're getting now is just king and coho, and we got a little bit of steelhead back there that we already pulled out and canned up.
16-year-old Joseph Douville and his friends showed us how they jar fish in Craig.
It takes a lot once you catch the fish to the finished product. You should ice them down the first night that you get them, and then fillet them the next morning, and then strip them out and get them ready for like a plain pack, which is no smoke. You just put them right into the jar. After we strip it out, we soak it for, well, that varies too, actually. Some people like 2 minutes and others like 4 minutes. That 4 minutes that we did turned out pretty good. It was a coho and the steelhead. There's other flavors that you can use, such as like pineapple in with the brine. You can make it like a Hawaiian, or you can use just about any other seasoning that you like to use on fish. It's alder. We skin it with a hatchet, take all the bark off. One of those things my dad taught me, it's just tradition for him, because I guess it leaves a real bad flavor to it, I guess. There's just something in the bark. We smoke the fish for about a day to a day and a half, depending on the amount of smoke, or if I was checking it at the right time, and if there's too much heat, and it can really vary on the amount sometimes, so we might have to do it a little longer than necessary. When we get ready to jar the fish, we cut them so they're just below the top of the rim of the jar, so that creates a seal after we cook it for 4 hours with a rapid boil. What I tried to do is stay to my dad's way, because he was really the one that taught me, and the way that his fish turned out, his jars, they were just real beautiful, and you could just see all the meat. Just the beauty of it. It's really pretty beautiful once you look at a good jar.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Heartbeat Alaska, Native news and Native information. Thank you, good people in Southeast Alaska, Craig and Klawock. We appreciate the hospitality you showed our cameraman. Before we leave today, I would like to say my condolences for all of us here at Jeannie Green Productions for those in the recent plane crash in Dillingham, Alaska. Our prayers go out to you, for you and your family, and we share your loss. God bless you. We'll see you again next week.
My name is Rodney McCord from Tyonik. I'd like to say hello to my mom, my dad, Frida and Ron McCord, and my brothers and sisters, Rochelle, Leann, Ryan, Ronnie, and Ron. See you when I get home.
I'd like to say hello to my mom, Diane, Jordan, and everybody else, my sister, everybody, my whole family, and to everybody out in Alaska.
I'd like to say hi to my parents, my grandparents, my aunties, uncles, cousins, all my friends on the Yukon and Klawock River.